Welcome to the eye test. Today we're looking at Gary Trent Jr. You can see here my quick impressions of his game before doing any research. At the end of the video, we'll look at how inaccurate these are. But first, let's take a look at a few plays where the announcers just go crazy, and then we'll start breaking down some plays.
To Trent Jr. Going to work on Tucker. The three. Oh! Gary Trent Jr. If we don't turn the basketball over against a Raptor team, it'll give us certainly the best shot as Gary Trent Jr. takes the best shot all the way from downtown Etobicoke.
Kim Birch just doing a great job. I don't know what he saw, but Kim Birch defending the basket. Wow.
What a move. Tough as nails.
The first thing I want to look at are his steals and defense. This is a part of his game that jumped out to me after watching a lot of his plays this season. He's tied for third in the NBA at steals per game. He stands at 6'5" with a 6'9" wingspan, and he's a relentless defender. He never gives up on a play. In this next play, I don't think I've ever seen this before, where a defender falls down, then recovers fast enough, still in time to come away with the steal like he does.
Barnes drives. Gary Trent Jr. says for the Raptors. Shot clock now at 9. Randall.
A lot of his steals come as on-ball steals. He has the instincts and strength to rip the ball away from ball handlers. I think his long wingspan catches offensive players off guard. Dribble around Gary Trent Jr. at your own risk. But you'll also see him jumping passing lanes and coming up with deflections when playing off-ball as well. In these clips, you'll actually see him roaming and just following the ball, harassing whoever ends up with it. In each of these plays, he almost gets a double steal. In the Raptors' defense, he can essentially play as a free safety at times, just hounding the ball handler. Further evidence of his just relentlessness on defense. I like this play here where he gets whammed pretty hard on the screen, but still manages to get the ball away from the ball handler. And this play is more defensive roaming as he covers a lot of ground while reading the passing lane. You can see he saw this pass coming the whole time. Let's take a look at his threes and mid-range game. This is where most of his points come from. A common play type the Raptors run for Gary Trent Jr. is him coming off screens to an open shot. As you can see in this clip, Gary Trent Jr. wheels through the paint, getting a staggered screen where he pops open on the wing. In this second clip, here's the same action again. This is a hard action for defenses to cover because three defenders have to communicate the switch before Trent Jr. can punish with an open three-point shot. Another common screen action the Raptors run for Trent Jr. is this corner three screen. Here's a different variation where he actually receives two screens. And as an almost 40% three-point shooter on about 8 attempts per game, he's an extremely good shooter that can make defenses pay when they give him space.
Warriors still in the zone. Trent Jr. playing zone buster.
It's like that time
you can see how defenses struggle to navigate this screen before the shot is up.
You guys would have been out of there in a hurry if it put up 31.
The first thing smoking.
In this action, Trent Jr. sets a ram screen, which is a screen on the ball screener's defender, confusing the defense, resulting in enough space to pop open to the three-point line. Here's the same action again this time. Again, a lot of communication is required by the defense to defend this smoothly, as he pump fakes the defender and opts for the mid-range shot this time. Next, we're going to see some isolation clips. Trent Jr. is a good ball handler and has a variety of dribble moves and step-backs he can utilize to create space from his defenders.
On the road, with a young team, you'd almost see the reverse of that. Here's Gary Trent Jr. and the three is good. So good to have. Trent Jr. back as he...
Along with his catch-and-shoot ability, this makes Trent Jr. a versatile three-point shooter, which defenses have to respect. If he gets a big man switched onto him, you'll often see him go to a step-back three-pointer.
Out of all the guys, Chris, he worries me as much as anybody.
Something I did not expect in his game is that he also has a great mid-range shot, which he utilizes in isolations and off the pick and roll.
And the rebound. Here's Trent Jr. into the front court. 81-74.
He can use the dribble to get to his spots and has a surprising amount of moves to navigate tight defenses, like this low dribble, spin moves, hesitations, and crossovers.
Count it. And one.
Along with the dribble, he often uses a hop or a step back to create space.
Trent on a step back.
Do a lot of jump defenses at your opponents.
In this clip, we see him combine the spin move into a hop back shot, and you'll often see him hop toward the baseline for open looks. And notice just how much space he creates with his hops. This is a good look here. Even though the shot misses, he created a lot of space with his step back. And a good look at his probing dribble here into a sidestep baseline mid-range pull-up. Just like his relentless defense, Trent Jr. is also great at constantly moving on offense when he's off ball. Compare the X on the floor where he ends up taking the shot to where he begins the play. And in this clip, after giving up the ball, he runs all the way across the court to find the open look. You'll often see him shadow the ball handler and move around, providing a release valve for the offense.
To his backside, here's Trent Jr. letting it fly.
And in this clip, you can see how the defense is not expecting the relocation to the three-point line. Kind of looks like an uncalled foul here as he gets hit for the contested shot, but they didn't call it. Here's a look at a few other ways he gets his three-point shots. I just like how he full-on sprints in transition to get to the corner three. Spotting up for catch-and-shoot opportunities are also a large part of his game. He can use step-back and side steps to take advantage of defensive mistakes, like these fly-by pump fakes here.
Dealing with the shoulder, here's Gary Trent Jr., former Portland Trailblazer, bangs it home at the buzzer.
You can see how his ability to make a large variety of shot types makes him an important piece in the Raptors' offense. Okay, now let's take a look at his round-the-basket ability. While finishing at the rim is not the strongest part of Trent Jr.'s game, he can make some nifty finishes. His above-average handles allow him to maneuver into the defense to spots on the floor where he's comfortable attempting shots. Notice this play here is the corner screen play we looked at earlier. The defense gets around the screen well, and Gary Trent Jr. chooses to take the ball to the basket instead of taking the corner three. You'll also notice a lot of his drives will come out of pick and roll actions. He has the speed to blow by defenders when they are caught out of position, but I wouldn't call his first step elite. And I just like this play here where he's hounded up the court as he gets to the give and go to a quick shot lay-in. Trent Jr. has a good floater in his arsenal which he uses often. Watch the nice footwork to the floater here. He uses hesitations and dribble moves to create lanes for his drives, avoiding help defenders with the floater. He uses the jail dribble move often, keeping his defender on his back as he probes closer to the basket. He uses a low dribble often to take small hops to create space.
Didn't have a great first half, which tells you a lot about
He'll
his
mostly use this move out of the pick and roll.
Trent taking on contact. How good has he been tonight?
And Blake quickly. Here's
You also see him use what I'm calling a brute strength floater, where he initiates contact and bullies the defense to create space and throw up a semi-open floater.
there. And finishing over Pirtle.
He'll go right back in, muscles up a lefty scoop. No.
When you can't get by your defender with any dribble moves or speed, just run right into him and create some space.
Strong beats strong, and Trent lays it up and in as he and Little
It really doesn't matter who's defending him when he uses this move. He does not hesitate to initiate contact even against larger defenders.
contact for a bucket.
Overall though, when looking at his finishing at the basket, it is not a strength of his game,
Puts it up.
compared to his three-point and mid-range shots.
Garba shakes his head no.
Airballed the float. And here comes Pascal Siakam.
He is not a high-flying athlete and can struggle to finish over defenders.
Defense by Duncan Robinson.
Back comes Gary Trent
He's
Jr.
currently only shooting
Full
57% on shots 0 to 3 feet from the basket.
Right with him.
For comparison, guards that are around his same size like Zach LaVine, Devin Booker, Jordan Poole, and Tyler Hero all shoot closer to 70% from that same distance.
It's going to be a weird feeling. I know it is.
He also exclusively finishes with his right hand, making it more predictable to defend.
Raptors after playing in front of big crowds out on the road.
Trent Jr. is not known for his passing ability, although proficient enough to make basic reads and passes. Here we see the staggered screen action again, this time leading to an assist instead of a 3 for Trent Jr.
Boucher lets it fly, and the three rattles in. Boucher from Laval. Killian Hayes in his second year. Here's Gary Trent
This cross-court pass to the corner is something he does often.
for OG. And count the basket.
Well, it's first one since.
And passes like this one here to popping teammates is how he gets a lot of his assists.
Kaboom. A three.
But most importantly,
He can also make plays out of the pick and roll. Here we see this corner 3 screen action again. This time he makes a sweet pocket pass to the rolling screener.
Junior, great look. Boucher.
Although he doesn't have huge assist numbers, he can make plays routinely out of pick and roll, consistently finding inside passes through tight coverage.
Cuts we've seen tonight from the Raptors.
Again, we can see the familiar ram screen action. This results in an attack off the dribble, leading to a great pass inside.
Trent. The drive. Dish off. Count it. Boucher played through the defense there. We just talked about the shooting is going to go up and down for every NBA player.
And I just like this clip's angle, as you can see the slick bounce pass after a missed floater.
Nice pass to Barnes by Trent on the
Now let's take a look at his actual splits versus my prediction. As you can see, I was low on his shooting ability from 3 and the free throw line, but higher on his finishing. If he develops a more consistent touch around the rim, he may become one of the most deadly scorers in the game. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like it, and leave a comment of a player you'd like to see more of and your predictions of their game. Thank you.